And just to speak more about this goal a little bit, if I could share. Essentially, we thought about seeing if we could gather different agencies together. We've been in conversation with the Portland Business Alliance, as well as some other entities that are doing work around workforce. And we wanted to essentially have like a summit around the whole idea. And different folks were interested in having that conversation, because a lot of different people are doing stuff in different areas. We wanted to get them all together in a room and have a real big conversation around like, what is everyone doing and how can we all align our services better. And this was a dream, but the pandemic hit, and so that kind of vision took a step back to addressing some of the other needs our businesses are in our folks who were laid off. So priorities shifted a little bit, but the interest is still there. But we haven't been able to.
I guess that's the question, JR, isn't it? Is the interest still there? So, and one of the things with having 3 people at our meeting that represent workforce development, it'd be great to hear what you guys think of that idea, whether that actually fits or whether some different way of dealing with workforce development would have an impact. I know that it's organized strangely. I mean, I think it comes through the state. A lot of it is federally funded. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Katie and JR. I think it's a great opportunity to invite organizations that are part of workforce development. And as part of NPI, Division Midway Alliance, we work with Southeast Work closely. They are
Say that again. I'm sorry, Alicia.
Southeast Work. We have a workforce navigator who work with us closely in reaching out to businesses and community in case they need to find a job or job readiness program. And I believe other NPIs like Historic Park Rose, Apano, Rosewood has their own workforce navigator. So it would be great to invite them and just share the goal, why we need to organize this summit. And yeah, just let them know about the purpose of this summit and also at the same time get input from them. That would be great. That can be a starting point in organizing this summit. And when are we planning to do that? Will this be virtual, in person?
Well, we haven't done it.
Okay, so
we haven't done it. So okay. It's like this is open, new field. It's a new field.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we are excited. DMA is excited about that, and let us know how we can support.
So it sounds like something that you would really like to see happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Why not, right? Now, but I would like to hear others' feedback too.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear too. I really like to get some unvarnished, What do you think about this idea about having a summit or trying to do something that would have an impact on East Portland? Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of workforce development that's out here. I'm not sure. I don't know how well coordinated it is. What do you guys think?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions that I have, like what's the population you're trying to reach? What's the focus of the meeting? I think there's some assumptions that it's not happening already for some people possibly, and I know from a construction standpoint, like that's happening a lot. There's a lot of people coming together doing workforce equity and different programs and in conversation on how we can, be better, deliver the work that we're doing. So, I mean, I have just a bunch of questions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. I mean, I think that, if it's, talking about bringing some of the agencies that are already collaborating and working together, I think there has to be, some kind of specific, tangible, maybe, product or thing that you're trying to accomplish. And I mean, I would really be interested, if, there was, kind of a goal or maybe a focus on, including, employers, and, because that's always, obviously the end all, right? That if employers are bought into maybe a new initiative, then it gives opportunities for the people that we will be working with and training. So I would, just like Rana, want to have a little bit more specifics in terms of what's our intent, to bring, some of these agencies that are already working together, in different sectors. I know, I invited, Stacy from WSI, to talk about the Aligned Partner Network, which, features over, 54 agencies, many of which work in East Portland as well. So yeah, so I think, just having a more specific, target idea about what is it that we're trying to accomplish with the summit. Is it, trying to reach employers? Is it trying to make sure that the services that we are providing are providing equitable results? What's the end goal?
excellent. Surya, do you have any input into this? I mean, you're in the same field. These guys, you must see them. Do you see them all the time? Do you guys, do the three
Oh
of you
yeah,
guys see each other all
yeah,
the time? Okay.
yeah. So I think I actually did a presentation last year around like this time, about workforce development in like Portland metro area, and then I did mention that East Portland has been a big focus area of like our outreach. Like Ricardo works with Human Solution, like they work in East Portland. Irko works in East Portland. We have like WorkSource North, Northeast, and like Southeast works, are all like focus for East Portland. So we have a lot of workforce development activities that is going in East Portland. Portland Youth Builders is our partner. Our like Next Gen program, regularly collaborate with them for participation. But while we work on this area, I think one area that we need to ask is there is never a sufficient outreach, especially with the population that East Portland have. And one thing that EPAP and EPCO works with is the small organization that might have 5 or 6 people, or like reach out to specific communities. So it's like they need to be connected with our workforce development network. We have Aligned Partner Network. For that, you don't necessarily need to provide job and training program. There are other agencies as well which can be part of that. So we need to focus on a goal. And one thing that EPAP and EPCO is good about in East Portland is that there is a possibility to do more outreach and to reach out to participants who will benefit from our programs. Like there is like currently Ricardo and like Rana can say something about this, but there are so many opportunities, so many resources in if you want to do any training, if you want to get like job related support, we have so many opportunities. And we want participants to like take those opportunities. And if we want to focus our kind of goal for the summit, so that more and more like agency and small organization that work with people of color, or like immigrant and refugee community, or like marginalized community in East Portland, that would be actually very much beneficial.
So it would be, the goal would be to do the outreach to the communities that don't necessarily always get the outreach. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, what we are doing right now, like Division Midway Alliance and as well as like, Historic Park Rose, I have had communication with them in like past few months as well. Like there are people who reach out to these specific agencies for some services, and some of those services are part of our service as well, in addition to, so we provide rent assistance, we provide energy assistance for our participants who are either in training or who are looking for jobs, right? But these are also a service in demand for a community member who have recently like lost job, or whose business might have closed. So there are a lot of potential, like not only with NPI, but there might be other small organizations that are working with community in like providing COVID related relief or other support. So if we can kind of tap out those organizations and tap into those organizations resources and their participant base, you know yeah, that will help. And we can talk about our collaboration, because again, like there is a huge network collaborating and working in East Portland already. And so it's more of a getting like our services known to the public who actually can benefit from these.
So it's not so I'm going to just rephrase this because I'm trying to take it in and I'm not necessarily taking it in. So I want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. And so are you saying that you guys already are covering all the areas that need I mean, there's classes for everyone that wants them. Is that what you're saying? That there's classes for everyone that wants them, but a lot of times they don't know about them, and that's really what's needed is outreach to all these smaller organizations, not just the NPIs, not just the usual slightly bigger organizations, but even smaller organizations. And that would
Yeah,
be you don't have enough penetration into all these different things. Is
I
that what
mean,
you're saying?
yeah, we have, like the publisher that we serve also work with kind of, word of mouth. Like, if, like one community member does, CDL training, for example, other community member follow and then they reach out to us. But, with, word of mouth or everything, it's only a small group of people who get benefit. Like, for example, since this time last year, we have done so many CDL training, but many of them are focused with our like Somali community member who live in East Portland, right? Because one person did the training and then he kind of spread the word out to his community, and then other people reached out. And same thing happens with our CNA program. We kind of have that sense of concentration of these training within certain groups. But again, this is the reason we want to reach out to as many different group in East Portland as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just wanted to bring up right now. So is this a goal that is worth pursuing? And is this a goal that we're suited to do? JR, are we really suited to as an organization, are we really suited to get the word out to if we had some kind of a summit or whatever you want to call it, and the purpose of it was to make sure that smaller organizations and communities that haven't necessarily gotten the word would get the word. Are we suited to do that? Is that something we would be able to do?
Um, so I would say yes.
Mhm.
For a short answer. So I think there's a part where we play a role as EPAP. This committee could, one, I think it's a two-part series. One, we could get all the people doing the work together in a room. It could be virtual, it could be in person, and have a conversation of like, how do we get people back to work? If that was a focus, a lot of people lost their jobs during the pandemic, and a lot of people lost their second jobs or something. So what what does community need to get to work, and how do we develop policy around that? Is it transportation? Is it opportunity? Is it training? Where are the gaps at? I think we could have that conversation to then figure out next action steps for that. It could be coupled with I think the second part is Sharia saying a lot of the raising public awareness around some of these things, outreach programs, and it could be as simple as if we have a big job fair that's open to the public, in addition to sort of this summit conversation that does a little bit more outreach program and lets people know like what's going on. That's what I'm hearing, which I think we as EPAP can do.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that we did have Port of Portland come and talk to us. And have you guys had much interaction with Port of Portland? I'm curious, the workforce development professionals I have on this committee right now, the three of you. You had much connection with them?
Yes.
It looks like no. Okay, so
Yeah, I think we had a few interactions in the past year, but not in the recent year. One thing that I also thought about Portland. I don't know if it was last meeting or a meeting before that. There was a presenter from Port of Portland, and there was a conversation about opening of a training center in. What was Chanton Beach or Hidden Island, which in one of their spare property. That's, I think that would be a conversation that we can have, is to bring the training center or like any investment related to it to East Portland, because of the transportation difficulty. Like we have a big population who needs training, and if it involves like traveling or involves car to like a place which is far away, that is one of the thing that will prevent people from taking the training. So as a EPAP, working with policymakers, especially to bring a training kind of institution in East Portland, that would be a good investment in terms of like our lobbying capacity or convincing capacity to the policymakers, because we did have some conversation about having a training institution in like Gateway area, right, a couple of years ago, and
Right.
I'm not sure where that conversation is. But also we have Mountain Community College and small other training institution whose capacity can be aided if we can kind of get additional resource from either Port of Portland or other agencies.
So it's okay. And Surya, were you at the meeting that we had here with Port of Portland a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about that with them.
Yeah.
And of course, if that was something we wanted to do, we would have to keep talking to them about it. I mean, we would have to write a letter and start really pushing to see if they would like to do that here, if they would be willing to do that here.
Yeah, and Portland Youth Builders is here. We have already capacity of providing training related service in East Portland, and so I would rather kind of have institutions which are already doing the work, who have to be aided for their work and to expand the service if they want to, rather than kind of investing on a brand new facility and which might be even far away for people to take training. And so that's something that I can kind of think of.
So okay, so that would be okay. Any other things that anybody wants to say? Annette, Mustafa, Kevin? I haven't said anything yet. Any thoughts on a goal around workforce development?
Well, I at least on my part, just as far as workforce development and Prosper, I mean, I know we're connected obviously to a lot of the stakeholders here, so I wouldn't want to speak on that. All right, but I would say, just the factors of, in general, talking about what's come out of COVID, just the way things are changing as well, as far as behavior in our businesses and how we're going to look to develop our workforce from here on out. I think it'll be interesting to see what gaps may be arising as well. I think JR really pointed that out as well. Definitely, what would be some inequities that could be probably exacerbated if not approached or addressed appropriately as well. But definitely from the sticks and bricks part of it, what are some aspects of community leverage that are taking place, and what are some assets in the community that could be of help as well. I'm not as familiar, of course, with some of these goals being said prior, but I would think that there's been definitely some inflection points in workforce development that I think would be interesting to really talk about and see how it would look like at a local level, and how agencies can partner up or find a pathway to be partners in that.
Kevin, do you know what inflection points are you talking about? Do you have specifics, or are you just thinking that there probably have been some?
I believe that there would be some specific workforce development inflection points, but I wouldn't assume to know anything.
Oh, okay.
I think that's something of identifying community priorities, as I believe JR pointed out, and finding myself how I could best serve.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Annette, was there something you wanted to say? Anything?
I was just kind of thinking on the phrase of, how do we get people back to work? I think JR brought that up, and it just seems to me that kind of needs to be the focus of workforce development right now, especially coming out of the pandemic. I don't know what that would look like, but maybe this summit that JR has been talking about, getting people in workforce development in the same room and brainstorming on possibilities would be helpful. The other thing I was thinking of is we've had a whole bunch of people sign up for rent assistance. And I was wondering if workforce development folks have access to those lists, and whether people could reach out to them and offer support and access to workforce development.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can speak on my behalf, and definitely, I mean, some of the partners that are at the table, have some of the same funding sources. But yeah, we've had access, or we've had our participants have access to some of those dollars, new rent assistance dollars. So, for example, we've got quite a few, funds from WSI directly. To make sure that we work, through COVID money, whether it was a COVID relief fund, or even the first, I forgot the name of the first round of relief money, but in both instances, we got some money to be able to, give or provide rent assistance to our participants. I mean, we also obviously, as Human Solutions is a affordable housing agency, so we also got through HUD some additional dollars. I think the problem there is we realized that a lot of those dollars didn't come with additional capacity funds. So it was really hard to really, and I think other agencies probably experience the same thing, to really have or staff the ability to have, kind of opening up those dollars to agent, to the wider public that wasn't probably already part of a program. So for us at Human Solutions, I mean, I think that's what we did. We opened up a lot of our dollars that we were getting for rent assistance for program participants, knowing that we already had staffing dollars that those programs were paid for. So as we had to process, these rent assistance dollars, it wasn't an undue burden on the agency. But I think this pandemic has caused a lot of people that are not part of a program or have never been part of the system, of receiving, assistance that are, that find themselves, out there not really knowing how to connect, to the services. So in some ways, that's kind of a little bit of, where I gravitate towards Saria's message in terms of how can we create additional outreach for maybe some of these smaller agencies that are working, not in the workforce, development realm, but knowing that their participants now might need workforce development because we've gotten so many folks, experiencing, unemployment and being laid off. So I mean, so in that instance, I definitely see a connection of being able to provide, additional connections, for services.
Well, I can speak from our standpoint. We get rent assistance money, and that money comes with restrictions, so it usually doesn't go into the people that need it. One, two, getting people to work is not the problem for us. It is people wanting to work. It's not getting people to work. It's an employer's market, an employee's market right now. There's tons of jobs available. People just don't want to take it. One, they don't want to get vaccinated. One, they have like improper information around what that looks like. Two, right now with the rent moratorium, people are in this false sense of security. And once that ends, that's when this is going to be important.
Yeah, well, I just want to remind JR that we're not an agency. We could do something like a one event kind of, and it probably would be more high level even because we don't necessarily have connections to all those little groups. So I'm just wondering if we have the capacity to do this particular one. I have my doubts about it. And so I guess one of the things I would like to know is but I'm fine with it if there's a champion. Like if there's somebody is a champion and they want to do it really badly, and then I would say let's keep this goal because we have this champion. I'm not the champion. So is there somebody that wants to do this summit, economic or workforce summit?
Is this something that we can also reach out to the larger EPAP group and like ask the like EPAP so that they can kind of, so what I can think about is doing a general workforce development program in East Portland kind of presentation, and pose this question to the larger EPAP group that do you wish to organize this summit? Here are the opportunities and here are the stuff that are lacking, and is it worthwhile? And hear from them. Do you think is that a kind of a good idea?
Well, what do you think, JR?
So yes, the short answer is yes, we can approach the larger EPAP and let them know like we're working on this and recruit help. I think Katie's right in that we still need someone to like be the point person on carrying this out if it's something we really want to do. I think, and this is like an early on conversation we've been having for over a year now. and it initially kind of was sparked by a conversation we've been having with the Portland Business Alliance, who unofficially were like, oh yeah, if you were to have this, we would be the main sponsor. So there's definitely interest as far as like sponsorship and getting money to do this. It would just be a group of people who would need to get together and help plan and put this out, like make a list of like, who are the folks that need to be at the summit? How do we get an invite to them? And what's the agenda look like?
I mean, Katie, to answer your question, I don't even know what we're doing in the summit. You know, me personally. So I can't vote yay or nay when I don't even know what we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
that's what. Go ahead.
and I would add another thing. I think workforce equity is super important. And I also think this anti-racism equity plan is super important. And for me, I'd like to marry the two. To look at workforce equity through an equity lens and making sure that the people that are working in lens, we are prioritizing BIPOC community, women, and people of color, not just in jobs, but quality employment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, and after hearing all of your responses and different opinions, I am thinking more of like, how can we better plan this? One way would be reaching out to all the organizations who are providing workforce development service, working on workforce development equity issues, like a survey, to understand what they want this summit should look like, and that can be a collaborative process to come up with a goal. Uh, that can be one way if it's possible. I know it will take some time, but since we are in early process of planning, that can be a way to reach out to other organization, partner organization, and get their input before we set a goal. Yeah.
Okay. So this goal is kind of, let's put it on, this is almost 6 o'clock. Let's put it aside and say, we're still working on it to see if we want to, we want to refine it so that to come to a conclusion that feels strong to us. We haven't decided yet. And so that we've had several ideas. One is to bring it to the larger EPAP, and also perhaps to ask more people, maybe even in the form of a questionnaire, to the different people that are involved with workforce development, to see if there's an interest and a purpose. And let's move on to the next item.
Cool. I just want to add that, this, even if we don't, maybe a summit is like too big or too much right now, we can still within our meeting educate ourselves about workforce equity and what are the programs, and just continue inviting speakers and continuing to learn about it, engaging people in the conversation. That's part of meeting the goal.
So I would like to put up the idea of the Port of Portland, though, because I think that's something we could pursue.
Bye.
Go ahead, Leisha. Sorry. Oh, you're leaving?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Next time. Bye.
Pardon? Oh, she's gone. Okay. So I think that we might be able to actually get some interest from Port of Portland. They seem to be there. They're on a kind of a tipping point. They're thinking about these issues. They're going to be making moves. So I think that's actually one where we could have a goal that we would work with Port of Portland to see how serious they are about having a training and seeing if they would bring it to East Portland.
Well, we partner with Port of Portland, and they're looking for skilled labor. They're looking for like welders. Like they're looking for some high skilled labor. So I don't know what jobs they're planning to offer. I would not hold my breath around them bringing like entry level positions that they would train for.
You know, I don't know enough about it, so I can't answer you really, Rana, but they were talking about converting one of their properties into a workforce development center.
Hmm.
And we were saying, don't have a workforce development center across town, you know, in one of your obscure properties. Sell the properties and bring the workforce development center to East Portland.
Oh, well, that's different. I did not know that. That changes
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't understand the context of what you were talking about.
No, totally, yeah.
Yeah, and last time when Port of Portland did some, there was a outreach person from there who like came to this meeting, and she talked more about the very entry level position, not even skill level position at that time. Maybe like their new position open, but this was something that we also talk with them. Like they have a lot of contractors who hire skill labor, like Rana just mentioned. Welders, builders, laborers. And so for those jobs, especially for East Portlanders to take advantage of those jobs, immigrant and in refugee community, to take advantage of those jobs, we need to invest more on training and especially like building those skills here in East Portland. And like that's where like this conversation to bring a training center somewhere in East Portland, just so that there will be a transportation accessibility and everything. That was the conversation.
Does that make sense, Rana?
Oh yeah, that'd be super cool if they can bring him to East Portland.
Okay. So do you guys think that would be a good goal for workforce? I mean, we don't have to give up the other goal yet. Let's investigate it more, but would that be a good goal for us to work on? Something that's fairly, it looks like something you can put your hands around. Although it's a big one too. It's actually a pretty big goal. So, okay. But let's move on to the next one because I think we have like 4 goals. And the next one is advocate for the equitable infill and redevelopment program. Okay. So this one, I'm going to have to explain a little bit. Maybe, yeah, that is actually the idea of asking the city to do some programs and training around residential infill, which is a new residential infill. All property owners, I'm not sure when exactly it starts. It may already have started. You can redevelop your own property and put more than up to 4, 4 separate units on your property. There's no longer a single family dwelling is kind of over with in terms of being required. And so the idea behind that goal was to advocate to the city to do more so that East Portland would get help so that homeowners could do their own redevelopment. That way the money that they made from redeveloping the property would go to them instead of going to outside developers. So that's what that one is about. I was kind of the champion of that goal. I don't know if anybody else feels strongly about that goal. It hasn't really gone anywhere. We've tried different things, but so I'm not getting, I'd be happy to get rid of that goal because I think it's, yeah, I don't think that one is going to go anywhere. Any thoughts from anyone on that one? Okay.
Well, just to add some 2 cents in the air, I think the whole the spirit behind that goal was around supporting anti-displacement measures, and I think there's still some things we can do to prevent displacement in our community, in our neighborhoods. And I don't know, a lot of those ideas that was developed in that are like really good ideas that we could just share and promote and educate, just raise awareness about the need just to combat displacement. I know the housing subcommittee is also working on some anti-displacement things as well. So maybe that goal just updates into supporting anti-displacement and supporting any kind of asset development for individuals in East Portland. Maybe, I don't know, just some thoughts.
Well, the way it's written, yeah, it doesn't, it actually was written for a particular program that we were pushing. And yeah, and all the people that worked on it are gone except for me. And so I think housing should be handling anti-displacement. And I mean, I don't think we should kick anti-displacement out at all, but if it's being handled in another under another committee, I think that's fine. One of the things I'm not crazy about is having goals that we never work on. And I'm not really seeing that anybody has jumped on that. So the next one is the next goal was maintain a connection with Portland Clean Energy Fund because of their ability to provide workforce development and help to low income homeowners and small businesses. That's, I think that it's possible we might want to rewrite that, but our connection with the Portland Clean Energy Fund is pretty strong. And we've actually gotten a $100,000 grant from them. So Gail has been the one that's sort of bird dogged that all along and done a terrific job. And that's part of that. I would call that one of our successes. So let's just leave that one in there. It's kind of ongoing.
I mean, isn't it connected to the first goal? I see a lot of similarities. Why don't we just combine the two?
Well, this one really has to do with maintaining a connection with the Portland Clean Energy Fund.
And why does it say workforce?
These goals were written a couple of years ago, so I can't really tell you why it has that.
I might be able to share a little bit more, shed light on it. So I think this one is particularly monitoring the fund itself and making sure that they are spending money on workforce and advocating that they spend money on workforce in East Portland. So it's more or less like monitoring the fund and engaging with them and letting them know, like, support projects that impact either in East Portland or higher East Portland residents. Whereas the first goal is more about efforts outside of the fund. So engaging with elected officials, Prosper Portland, Port of Portland, that are not related to the fund specifically.
Is the fund that East Portland got, like, what are, like, do you have restrictions to that funding? Is there like something you need to do with that money?
Yeah, so it's this first 100K is a planning grant.
Uh-huh.
And so the fund it's huge, it's millions of dollars. And the first round is a planning grant. So the East Portland Resilience Coalition got the planning grant. So it's 1 year of funding to plan for what project you're going to be doing with a larger fund. So yeah,
okay.
it's just, yeah. So it's seed money for hopefully a multi-million-dollar project that we'll get to pull in together.
Cool. Then I would agree. Just updating the verbiage, I think, would be helpful.
Right.
But
The,
also,
go ahead.
yeah, this can be a kind of a subsection of like first action as well, because they all, involve workforce development, like just to keep that at least that portion in the same line. We can do kind of 1 and 1.2 or something, just so that this workforce development component aligns together. But yeah, I think we need to have like to maintain our strong connection with PSEF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and as a matter of fact, the way it could connect is if there were holes, but it sounds like there aren't. But if there were holes or a program that had more to do with cleaning, I think that things do have to do with clean energy, but there's also a big emphasis with PSEF on underserved communities, and so they take a very broad brush in terms of how they spend their money on in terms of supporting a community around climate change. So it seems that if that would be another thing that economic development could do around workforce development would be to decide that certain kinds of programs need more funding. If there's certain kinds of programs that need more funding, they are a source of funding. You just have to come up with a reasonable proposal and have somebody be able to administer it. Yeah, they're very open right now, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think they will probably open a second round of funding soon, right? And yeah, this is really important, especially for East Portland, because they can invest on workforce training, and they can also one of their goal is to, because a lot of clean energy installation have that advantage goes to people who already own home, and they can have like new solar or something, and it doesn't to the extent to like as much extent like give advantage to renters. And we had during like last few year of discussion, we discussed about bringing these trainings to like people of color or who are renters, and like solar installation training, and there are other training institutions, and then there is a kind of a mandatory collaboration requirement with business as well as nonprofit. So I think we should keep our connection with them, just so that we can connect like different nonprofit in East Portland people, or like in communities like that are serving communities of color, and funder as well. And like EPAP can be a like a collaborative forum.
Okay. Well, like all like all goals discussions, that it's hard to pull them around and finish them off. At least I'm finding it difficult. But I think we kind of agree on about the maintaining our connection with the Clean Energy Fund. But the last one is advocate, the last one of our goals. And I hope we can spend 5-10 minutes talking about this one. Advocate for a quadrant plan equivalent plan for East Portland in the form of an anti-racism equity plan for East Portland. So that is the one that I have been kind of a champion for. And I have felt like it's been kind of a hard sledding to get people to think about doing it as a plan. There's a lot of discussion about ideas, getting ideas from underserved communities and BIPOC communities to to tell the city what they need. But I've always said that yes, we need to do that, but then we need to put a plan together so that we can show how we can achieve those goals. And so I've been wanting the city to commit to the plan, not just engage in the community, but to engage the community and then create a plan around the community's goals. So I still think there's a chance for that to happen. I'm wondering what other people think about that particular goal.
I don't think there's a chance the city's going to sign off on an equity plan.
You don't think there's a chance?
No, I don't. To be completely honest with you, I think we have more of an opportunity if they showed us a plan, and we got to review it, because there would be a level of control there. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my conversations that I've had in with the city, with commissioners in the county, it's like watching cement dryers. It doesn't get anywhere. That's my opinion. If others are hopeful, I'll be with you. I'll support you.
Well, your doubts and are I really try and maintain a positive outlook on life, but your doubts are resonating a little bit with me there, Rana.
Hey, I'm about it. It's just, as a person of color,
Yeah.
it's
and this is, I don't have the kind of exactly straightforward word like Rana, but post-COVID, a lot of the discussion about quadrant plan and a lot of other plan that we were already having discussion for quite some time, these are not leading anywhere at this moment. It's like just addressing COVID, and then sometimes that helps to kind of fizzle away like all of these ongoing discussion, and maybe they will try to come up with another plan to make a different plan, but yeah, it does seems very far away.
I would say I am still hopeful for some of this, just because of some of our conversations, Katie, and kind of looking at which I'm still digging my hands into. I just got into Lakiana's kind of action plan, but looking at some of these community-based organizations plans that have already been out around racial equity. We're talking about looking at the People's Plan, talking about looking at this action plan from Word is Bond, and looking at other action plans and championing those plans through East Portland Action Plan. Instead of trying to recreate a whole new quadrant plan or something that would be a hard sell, I think it would be an easier sell to get more people on board with what we've already been talking about all this time and how EPAP can kind of champion some of those ideas that have already been around. So those are some of my ideas.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit too. So from the city side of things, I know like there's definitely some energy with like Leslie Lum and Bill Cunningham they're constantly advocating for money, to put money in a budget that's sort of like down the road for a planner to help us out with this. I think so. City staff are pushing for it as well as like the rest of us. I think as soon as we start talking to some of our newly elected officials, they're going to be behind it as well. So there's that effort going on. Another level, city staff have been gathering together around how do we focus on East Portland. So these are like, it's called the East Bureau Advisory Group. So it's a newly formed group that's been meeting for a few months. And it's all the different bureaus that got direction from the bureau directors on like, we're recognizing East Portland has some extreme inequities. What is our plan to be working on East Portland, and how can we better coordinate things together? So they've developed like an asset map and working on projects and talking about what are the things that we need to do next. So there's some buzz in that conversation amongst staff that got some direction from bureau directors on like, what are we doing for East Portland?
JR, is anybody from Prosper going to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like, and this is like, they're not ready for public opinion just yet, or like to talk about with the public. It's all just like internal staff talking amongst ourselves on like, all right, PBOT, you have the EPEM, Prosper Portland has the MPIs, Portland Parks and Recs has like these different projects and programs as well. So how are all these things like just internally, because bureaus speak different languages on plans and they don't all agree on like what exactly is East Portland and different things. So at least at the conversation, how do we, like, we're learning how to have the conversation. It's one of those bureaucratic things that's taking a while, but I think there's energy to, because they look at the East Portland action plan, they're like, oh, that needs to be updated to what we're doing now. So at least like there's some energy around like staff and bureau directors as well.
Thanks, JR. Annette?
So JR, who pulled that East Bureau group together? I was just curious who was the sort of the initiative, who had the initiative for that?
Leslie Lum was sort of the main cheerleader that got it together, but planning sustainability is the one that's hosting that conversation.
Because that sounds like it could be a good foundation for an equity plan. I mean, the discussions and whatever comes out of those meetings. I don't know, there's a lot of potential there.
And also there's that I can't remember the name of the group that's doing it, but it's also through Leslie, some funding that she got, which was
Unite Oregon.
Yeah, Unite Oregon. And so that is going to be at the end of June, right? There's been a gathering together of different BIPOC groups to ask what are you seeing that your needs in East Portland? And I don't know if anybody here is involved in that. But anyway, it's there's going to be a sort of a share out at the end. I don't know how formal it is. I think it's going to be fairly formal. And people are invited to come to it. I'm definitely going to go. And it seems to me that they're going to be coming up with a bunch of ideas that would need to be worked, you know. In other words, you need a plan. You need to take what those folks are coming up with, and you need to create a plan around it. Otherwise, all the work that they did and all the, you know, I myself find it kind of disheartening when people get asked to share what they really, really want to see happen, and then there's no plan for making that thing happen. You know, it just seems like it's a really good, wonderful thing to do. That's half the battle, but then the other half is where the rubber meets the road, and that's what you need. You need that too. So that's kind of what I've been advocating for. Anyway, but anyway, it'd be good to have people at that meeting that could say that, you know. So if any of you guys are going to be there, that would be great. I mean, I'm going to be there, but it'd be lovely to have more people be there.
I'll send the details of that to everyone here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gotta hop off there. I gotta go dinner with the
Yeah, I know
family.
it is that time. So take care,
Well,
Anna.
Yeah, I want to just say that I'm gonna be unavailable for like the next 6 weeks. I'm going on vacation, so if you don't see me, it's because of that.
Are you going to
And
have a 6-week vacation?
I am.
Wow, good for you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I really like Mustafa's suggestion. If I heard it right, it's creating a collective and gathering information to create a plan. I think I'm on board with that. I think that's going to garner way more buy-in from the city, in my opinion. Bye, y'all. Have a great evening.
Goodbye. Okay, so it's getting to be that time. Let's see, what have I got left on my agenda? Oh, I do. I am looking for a co-chair. I'm pretty much, I myself am not going to stay on as of chair of this committee for after 2021. So, you know, that's another 6 months or so. Yeah, so I need to start thinking about succession. So if you or somebody you know would be interested in continuing this committee, I'd love to talk to you about it. And that's about it. So let's see. Does anybody have any updates that they want before everyone leaves? Which is already happening. Anybody have any updates? Go ahead, Annette.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that our next marketplace is happening this month. It's June 26th and 27th from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. It'll be down at 108th and Sandy. Should have a lot of really cool vendors. And then on Sunday, we'll have actually a vaccine booth there as well.
Oh, great. Thanks, Annette.
Sure.
Anybody else? All right. Is there anything, JR, that you should say or do before we sign off? Besides, thank you, everyone.
No, just that, you know, EPAP will continue meeting through the summer. You know, this committee's not going to meet till August again, but if you have any updates or anything else, please let me and Katie know.
All right. Take care.
All right, everyone. Bye.